Hello everybody, this is 0utsplay for cardrunners.com, and today it's going to be a hand review at 200 NL. So let's get started. Ace 10 suited in the big blind, facing a cutoff open and a call from the small blind. So I mean, they are both rigged, so there's no fish here in the pot except me, and the cutoff opens 41% in the cutoff, which is pretty wide, which is really wide actually, and it doesn't fold much to free bets. Its fold to free bet is 43. So, and also, I mean, the small blind seems to be cold calling on the wider side. Like a reg usually cold calls here 5%, 6% maybe, and is at 9%, which is a little bit wide, a little bit loose for a reg. So I mean, yeah, I think this can be a spot for a squeeze. It's not a mandatory one, but I think it's okay to squeeze here. The cutoff can definitely call reverse, and for the small blind, let's see what his cold calling range looks like. So a bunch of pocket pairs and broadways and some suited SX. Yeah, I mean, yeah, same thing. I mean, he can definitely call the squeeze with worse or with a pocket pair lower than tens when you see this range. So I mean, I think it's fine. So I decided it's not mandatory, cold calling is fine as well, I think pre-flop, but there I decided to go for the squeeze. The cutoff calls, which is not surprising, and the small blind shoves. So this looks like a spot where, I mean, most of the time we're gonna have to fold, and actually most players are going to snap fold, like pretty much always in this spot. But let's see if we can find a reason to do something else. So first, the cutoff. Is this possible that this guy did slow play something? So let's see, his 4-bet range as razor cutoff versus big blind is 7%, and cutoff versus small blind it's 12%. Which means, I mean, on the cutoff he's 4-betting versus squeeze a ton. So it's not the kind of guy you should expect to be slow playing a big hand here. So I think like the cutoff range is irrelevant. I mean, whatever, it's never going to call here. So it's pretty much folded already. So now let's see what the small blind is actually doing here, because I mean, he could 4-bet, but he just 4-bet shoves. That's pretty weird. Let's see if we can find a pattern or something. So 4-bet versus squeeze as caller. This is this one. So it's basically the range is 4-betting with. Once he gets squeezed as preflop caller, and you can see that it's a pretty wide range. Like he has the season queens, maybe, yeah, but he's also doing this with king queen and a bunch of lower pocket pairs and some SX suited as a bluff also. So it's a pretty wide range. Let's see if we can find more information. So, okay, look at the S2 suited hand. You can see that, I mean, he's calling an open, then he gets squeezed for 13, and then he just 4-bet chips. 4-bet shoves, 100 big blind with ace-deuce suited, which is pretty much the same situation as right there. With king-queen, he did go for a lower 4-bet, 30.5 BBs, and with pocket fives, he did 4-bet shove also. So I mean, if his range is going to be mostly small pocket pairs and suited as X, which is turning into a bluff, I think that we need 42% equity to make this call. I think against his range we do have this. So I mean, it's not I'm not thrilled obviously when I make this call, but given the information we have, I think again we can justify a call. So let's go ahead and do just that, call. And he had pocket fives, so that was a coin flip. Yeah, okay, I think that's it for this hand. Let's move on. Okay, so next hand, 8-6 off. On the button, we min raise, big blind defense. Flop comes 10-10-8. He checks. I think either checking or c-betting are both fine here in this spot. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess I will tend to c-bet more often with e-takes with a better kicker, like king 8, ace 8, this kind of stuff, and check back more with the rag kicker. So I check back, he bets turn, 55% of pot, so standard call. And the river is a jack of club and he overbets. Well, so it's a pretty tough spot now. The river is pretty bad for us, really bad. It's basically jack 9 gets there, 9-7 gets there, queen jack gets there, and he still has 10x in his range. So yeah, that's a really bad river, and he overbets. So really tough spot to make a call. I mean, my guess is that 95% of the players are going to snap fold with 6-8 off here. So let's see if we can do something else, see if we can find a reason, a good reason to do something else. So, button versus blind, turn bet versus missed c-bet, single raised pot out of position, so a little bit of everything, like a bluff, something like 40% of the time, or semi-bluff. And on the river, well, it seems to be bluffing a lot, more than 50%, but also another thing we can see about the overbets, which are all the points on the right of this vertical line. For the overbets, what we can see is that this particular player is totally imbalanced towards bluffs. He had value hands once, and 7 times out of 8 overbets, this was a bluff. So this is, I mean, a really precious information to have here, and I think based on this solo information, we can justify a call here. We need to be good 36% of the time. And I mean, if the scatter graph is right, that means 7 out of 8 times is gonna have a bluff, which is something like, I don't know, 85% of the time, I guess, is gonna have a bluff. So yeah, basically we should have a profitable call to make here. So we call, And yeah, the bluff. So that's nice. Next hand. So pocket kings in the cutoff. We open the big blind defend. We flop another pair. So either c-bet for value. Big blind check calls. Turn is a 9. Big blind checks again. This 9 I think can improve his range a little bit, but I still think we are ahead of his range on this turn. Also he's gonna have a lot of queen X I think at this point, so we need to keep value betting I think. So that's what I do. And he check raises the turn. So what to say about that? Yeah, the abuse hand is ripping here is king queen. About king queen, well, king queen should be 16 combos, but we have 2 kings, so this is already reduced to 8 combos. Then I think out of these 8 combos, he's free betting like maybe 20% of it pre-flop, so that leaves him with like 6.5 or 7 combos of king queen after the free bet. And then he's check raising a lot on the flop, 15%. So I guess, I mean, he's check raising on this flop at least half of his king queen combos. So that leaves him with like 3 or 4 combos of king queen on the turn I think. I think it's safe to assume that, yeah, it's something like this. So yeah, he still has some combos of king queen left, but this is far from 16 combos. What else can he check raise with for value on this turn? You know, jack 10 maybe deuces. I think pocket jacks and pocket 10s is free betting pre-flop mostly. Pocket 9s I'm not sure, but like if he flats pre-flop, I'm not sure if he's check calling this flop, maybe he does. But yeah, I think pocket 9s is also quite a bit discounted on this turn. So, you know, maybe he has 1 or 2 combos of pocket 9s left in his range. Then for value, he can still check raise, I think, queen 8 suited. So maybe, yeah, the 4 combos of queen 8 suited he can have in his range. And then, well, I'm not sure if he has 7-8, if he check calls the flop with 7-8 suited, with backdoor flush draws, like 7-8 of club or things like this. I'm not sure about this. Maybe he has 1 combo or 2 of 7-8 suited. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, I don't think someone is check raising the turn for value with jack 9 or 10-9. Like, because if you do this, first you're going to leave your check calling range very weak. And also when you check raise 10-9, say, I mean, you're going to get called a lot by better hands than yours. So yeah. And also, a guy like him, he has pretty huge check raises number, both on the flops 15% and on the turn 18%. So he's gonna have a very big bluffing range on this turn, I think. Like every queen 10, queen 9, 8 9, 10 8, maybe king 10, you know, king 9. I think also this guy is capable of check raising queen jack on this turn, even though that does not make really much sense, but I think this is what this guy is doing. So yeah, you know, there's still a lot of things we beat on this turn once he check raises. So, I mean, we need 26% equity, we still have the best hand a lot on this turn, and we have a good shot to the nuts, so that's a pretty easy call. River is an ace, and he shoves for a pot size bet. So, what to say about this ace? I don't think we should expect him to check raise S-Jack on the turn. Like, I mean, S-Jack has a lot of showdown value, But when you check raise the turn with S-Jack, you're basically turning your hand into a bluff, and I think S-Jack is good enough to not be turned into a bluff on the turn. I think it's still fine to check call S-Jack on the turn. Then I guess this guy has quite a bit of S10. He's turning into a bluff by check raising on the turn. I think he does have S10 a lot. About S9, maybe he's check calling the flop with some S9 and backdoor flush draw, but he cannot have S9 of club or S9 of heart, so the only combo of S9 is S9 of spade. Maybe he can have this, maybe. After this, maybe when he does not 3-bet pre-flop with S-Queen, he can play S-Queen this way on flop and turn. But once he hits top pair on the river, I'm not sure he's still shoving for value with S-Queen. Like, it's kind of thin to shove with top pair here for value. Same thing for S6 of club, like, I don't know, such a hand as S8 of club could make sense, S-deuce of club. S-deuce of club, yeah, still, I mean, yeah, pretty easy value bet for him, if he does have this in his range, and I think he does. S8 of club, I mean, once he hits top pair, it's the same thing than S-Queen. I mean, I'm not sure he's value shoving with just top pair here. So, yeah, this is basically improves S10 and S9 of spade and his deuce of club. Maybe some S-Queen combos, but not a lot, I don't think. And yeah, such hands as S8 of club and S7 of club, I mostly expect him to check the river with. So, yeah, you know, this is not that bad for us, I don't think. So, yeah, and if he has, you know, Queen 10, Queen 9, 8, 9, 10, 8, King 10, I don't know, Queen Jack, King Jack, with which is bluffing on the turn, I think he's gonna keep bluffing on this river S just because, you know, it's an S, so this looks like a scare card. So yeah, I think he is still bluffing with this hand on this river. I mean, yeah, okay, let's take a look at his scatter graph. So check raise turn, single raise pot, out of position. Yeah, okay. So yeah, look at this 10-9, I mean, it's pretty much exactly what I expect from this kind of guy, to turn a lot of made hands into a bluff. Yeah, this is pretty much, I think, the only way to explain such a high check raise number on both the flop and the turn. And then let's take a look at his check raise and double barrel range. So yeah, you see the green stuff is the bluff, so he's bluffing more than half the time in this spot. And for the hands, he's doing this really well, I expect, you know, to see the same kind of hands. Yeah, see, this Queen Jack hand, I mean, I don't really understand his turn check raise. I think he still has enough showdown value to check call, but, you know, this is basically what this guy is doing. Turning a lot of made hands into bluff, even when he doesn't need to do so. So, yeah, and when you see this Queen Jack, actually, you should consider that, yeah, I guess this guy is capable of having Ace-Jack in his range on this river, maybe. But yeah, he's gonna have also Queen Jack and maybe King Jack. But still, I mean, we saw that he's bluffing on the river in this spot pretty much 50% of the time. We need to be good 33% of the time. We block the nuts. We block King Queen. So yeah, I think against this guy, we need to make this call. I think it's going to be profitable long term. So let's make the call. And he shows up with the nuts. So yeah, this doesn't always work, but I still think I like the way I played this hand. And against this guy, I mean, against some other guy, it's a snap fold on the river, but yeah, against him, I think I need to call with this hand, just because he's bluffing too much. So yeah, that's it for this one. Let's move on. So pocket 8 in the small blind, a reg in the cutoff opens, a weaker player cold calls on the button. He's cold calling here 26%, which is really huge, a huge number. It's way too much. So his range is definitely wide here, which could lead us to decide to squeeze here. I think squeezing will not be a disaster. That could actually be pretty good. But as played, I decided to just call. Like the thing with squeezing, the fish is folding to 3-bet only 26, so you should expect a call, and you know, you're gonna play out of position in a 3-bet pot with not another pair, most likely. So, you know, I decided to play a smaller pot this time. 9s, I think, you know, it's the limit. Pocket 8, I think. Pocket 9s. 10s definitely squeeze. 9s, I think you should squeeze as well in this pot. And 8s, maybe you could as well. This time I decided to just call. And we flop second pair. And I decide to check, which I don't like. I think it's a spot where I should don't bet. First reason why a don't bet is good, I think, is because by don't betting you force the reg to play face up on the cutoff, because he has to worry about the weaker player behind him, so he cannot float you or raise you with nothing here. So if he has nothing, it's just gonna have to fold. So you gain, by don't betting, a pretty good information versus the reg. An information which you not necessarily win when you decide to check. Also, I think don't betting here does represent quite a bit of strength, and at least as much strength as check calling versus one player here. So yeah, I think I like don't betting a lot in this spot. The only plus which could come from checking is that sometimes we are going to save a bet here if we face a bet on a call for a bet from a c-bet from the cutoff, which should not c-bet with air here because of the weaker player. So, you know, if the cutoff c-bet and the button calls, we're gonna check fold and save a bet. So we check, the reg decides to check as well, and now the weaker player does that. He bets third pot, and now, I mean, it's pretty awkward. Like, if a bet was to go in on the flop, I would have preferred the bet to be bigger than this, like something like 10, 11. This bet, I mean, really looks weak, but the problem is that we can't really check raise, because, I mean, if we sorry guys, I have a bee flying around me. Okay. So the bee is good. Okay, if we check raise, it's almost like if we are turning our hand into a bluff, and I don't think we need to do this. Also, there's going to be a lot of bad turns and reverse in this pot, and, you know, inflating the pot on the flop when we're gonna have a hard time more often than not on the turn and the river, I don't think is a great idea. So, I mean, we obviously have to check call, because, I mean, we have the best hand really often here, but we can't really check raise, and that sucks. So yeah, I mean, that's another reason why donk betting is really good here. This avoid this kind of situation. So we call, and now the reg decides to check raise. So that's what happens when you don't donk bet. So what to say about this check raise? First, I mean, as I said, the bet of the button looks weak. So when we just call such a weak bet, we look weak as well in this spot. That's a thing to note. Another thing is that I would expect this reg to see bet if you had something in this spot for quite a lot of reasons. First is c-bet out of position on the flop is 48, which is not huge, but it's definitely a decently high. So he likes to c-bet out of position. So I would expect him to c-bet if he had something. Another reason why this is weird is because if for some reason the reg had something good here and decided to play it as a check raise, I mean, if I was him, I would try to pick a spot where I think the button is going to bet a lot versus a check. And it doesn't seem to be the case from this button. His bet versus missed c-bet is only 30 in position on the flop. So yeah, all this free information are making this raise suspicious to me. Let's take a look at what we can see from the scatter graph. So flop, skip c-bet and check raise. We see he did this 3 times, and 3 times he had a bluff, which is a really good information to have here, and which confirms what we were thinking already. So, I mean, the button folds versus this check raise, which is not surprising because his bet looked very weak. And yeah, at this point, knowing all what we know about this check raise being really weird and really suspicious, I think folding becomes out of the question. So it becomes either we want to call here or just go broke on this flop. I mean, it's pretty hard to decide which one of these options is the best. If we call, we're going to have a hard time on the turn and the river, because like every diamond is bad, every card higher than the 9 is bad. Because I mean, since its check raise is suspicious, I think his range for doing this could be very wide. Like, I would not be surprised to see King Jack. It's turning into a total bluff. King Jack with 1 diamond or something like this, you know. So, yeah, you know, every other card is going to be bad, any diamond, and it's going to be bad. And the pot is going to be really big. And we are going to be out of position. And we look still kind of weak because we only check called this flop bet. So yeah, I think yeah, calling is going to be pretty tough here. So I decided to just go broke right on the flop. I'm not sure if this is better or not than just, you know, just calling and let him bluff. So, I mean, yeah, we free bet. It shows, I mean, once we free bet, we are committed. Again, it's not great, especially because we are a little bit more than 100 big blinds deep. But, yeah, once we free bet, we are committed anyway. So it shows we obviously don't like it, but we have to call. And river is not great. And seems like we win, yeah. So he had totally nothing. So yeah, I mean, we stacked him in this end, but honestly, we could have saved a lot of pain by just don't betting this flop. Because if we don't bet, I think it just folds. So yeah, I mean, this was a really high variance play here. Yes, we stacked him, but this could have gone either way, to be honest. So yeah, I think definitely not don't betting the flop was a mistake. It doesn't look like a huge mistake, but the consequences are pretty big on the rest of the hand. So yeah, definitely the lesson to remember is to don't bet the flop in this kind of spot. Okay, let's move on. So 5-6 suited in the cutoff. We open that. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit loose, but there's one fish on the button and another one in the small blind, so it's fine, I think. We get a call from the fish in the small blind. What to say about that? This cold calling range is 40%, which is way too wide. Like, a reg is gonna have a cold calling range of 5%, which means this guy is cold calling in the small blind 8 times more than a reg. So I mean, it's definitely cold calling way too much. Let's see actually what it tends to be cold calling with. So yeah, I mean, this is his range for cold calling in the small blind. It's way too wide. Like, you can see such hands as Jack 4 suited, I mean 7-4 suited, it's way too wide, Jack 7 suited, and you can even see some 5 deuce offsuit, some 8-5 offsuit. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, he pretty much has no clue. Like, when he wants to play a hand, he plays the hand. Well, that's pretty much it. So, the reg in the big blind squeezes, and I mean, you can't blame him for this. It's a pretty good spot for a squeeze, especially knowing that, like, you know, the fish is not going to fold to his free bet. His fold to free bet is 7. His range for cold calling is weak, so like with anything decent here, he should try to squeeze here and ISO the fish and play a free bet potting position versus him. But you know, I mean, knowing this, I mean, knowing that this is a good squeeze spot, and knowing that the fish is probably going to come along, and that we have position, and a hand which is not great but plays decently, I think we can justify a call here. So this is what we do, and the fish comes along and overcalls as expected, and we flop bottom 2. The pre-flop squeezer checks. I think he's pretty much always giving up here. Any other pair, I think, would have c-bet trying to gain value out of the fish. So when he checks here, I mean, he has nothing. So I mean, the reg should not be a concern at this point. So we need to value bet versus the fish. So how much to bet? Actually, even though bottom 2 is a good hand on this flop, it's really vulnerable. It's, I mean, there's a ton of bad turn cards for us. Like any 7, any 9, any 10 probably is bad, any 4, any 3, any speed, any 8. There's a ton of bad cards for us on the turn, so knowing also that this fish not only is cold calling too much pre-flop, but also it tends to be a cold station. because his winner showdown is very low. His fold to c-bet out of position is very low as well. So he's probably not going to fold if he has anything here. So knowing this, I think we should bet big. And we bet 45, it's fine. I mean, I don't think like betting pot here, I don't think would be a disaster, to be honest. I think that would be pretty good actually versus this fish. But yeah, 45 is decent. It's fair enough. And the fish calls, which is what we did expect. The wake fold, as expected also, and the turn comes. A pretty bad card for us. The fish checks again, so what to do? I mean... that's not a good card, obviously. Actually, I mean, I think shoving will not be a disaster here, because I mean, this fish here is never going to fold a 7. If he has, I don't know, 10-7 is going to snap call. If he has, I don't know, Queen 10 of spade is going to snap call. Yeah, so, you know, when you shove this turn, this guy is definitely still going to call you with worse. That being said, I mean, I think it's still a pretty bad card for us, so I think taking the free card and see what happens on the river is fine as well. But yeah, I did not think about that when in real time, but actually I think we can still shove for value on this turn, as stupid as this sounds. This guy being such a station, I think it's still a fine play. Especially like we saw that he's caught calling Jack 7 suited, these kind of things. You know, he might even call you with your S4 off or something like this, so yeah. But as played, I did decide to check back the turn. River comes a 10 of suit. Well, this doesn't change much. Sometimes it's gonna have 10-9 for sure, or 10-7 as well, or maybe, you know, Jack 10 of spade. It's possible. It's possible, but it's far from the worst card. And the fish decides to bet. So, what to do here? Let's see at the stat of this guy, what he's doing. So we see that his fold to c-bet is very low on the flop, 30% in single raise pot, in free bet pot 44%, which is still low given how wide his range is. And we can see that he has a really high aggression frequency on the turn, on the river. It's really high, especially for someone who has such a high VPIP, because I mean, the higher the VPIP, the lower the aggression frequency should be, because the weaker the range is going to be post-flop. And also, a last thing you can see about this guy is that on the river, his bet versus missed c-bet is really high, both in single raise pot and in free bet pot. So basically what this tells us is that what this guy is doing is floating a lot on the flop, not folding to any c-bet, and every time you see a turn check back from the c-better, from the flop better, is going to barrel blindly on the river. This is pretty much his game plan, and it's actually something which is pretty common. So, I mean, knowing all of this, I don't know, maybe we can look at this river bed versus misty bed here. You see, in single way spot, it seems like pretty random. When he bets spot, he has the nuts, but other than this, when he bets 47 of pot, he has pretty much any 2 cards, and the same thing happens in a 3-bet pot. So yeah, when you know all of this, I think knowing that we need to be good only 25% of the time, we can safely make this river call. I think it's going to be profitable. So we go ahead and do just that. And he shows up with S5. Okay, so that was the last hand for this part. Let me know in the comment if you guys want me to make another part out of this or not. And yeah, that was 0utsplay for cardrunners.com, and I will see you guys.